The Bad Batch is a spiritual successor to Clone Wars, so we wanted to honor the style and the legacy of that.
This period of time, like orders, we're going to dig into the episode a little bit, by the way. So this period of time, like Order 66, the days leading up to it, the days after, are something that fans know, or at least we think we do. But then this show shows yet another unique angle in those days. Can you talk a little bit about what's happening in the galaxy when we pick up this show and the challenges that our Bad Batchers are going to face?
I can take that one to start off with. I mean, this time period is one of the reasons I got so excited about this show, other than this, oddball group of characters. But I just found it intriguing and engaging to watch a series where, we've seen the Clone Wars, where it's the height of the clone troopers doing what they're meant to do and what they were created for. And, the question became, what happens after the war is over? What happens to all of these clones who all they know is being soldiers, especially for the Bad Batch, who do things differently as it is with the Republic, and how they fit in once it becomes the Empire, because obviously two very different regimes, and how they react to this new environment and the new way of doing things and new way of following rules, which again isn't their favorite thing to do. But it was interesting to just sort of talk about the transition from the Republic to the Empire and what that looks like, because it's not what we saw in the original trilogy, where it's the dominance of the Empire. It's kind of like the early stages. And I found it kind of interesting to show planets and places that were happy that the war is over, and they don't really understand the implications of what an empire actually means. And it's kind of just laying the groundwork for what everyone knows the Empire to be later on.
It's an interesting point you make there, Jen, that in the transition, the sudden, shocking transition from Republic to Empire, that it becomes a suddenly much more rule-based power structure of the galaxy, of the universe, and that the Bad Batch are not so much a rule-based unit.
Exactly.
They're very much a team, but they're not. They are not of like the clones are, where it's more of a top-down command structure, and it's very interesting to place them in the middle of this transformational moment and to see how that plays out.
Definitely. So in the premiere episode, we are introduced to a new character named Omega, and she seems pretty important. What can you tell us about her and how important she will be to the story? And Dee, I would love to know more about the dynamic here between Hunter and Omega, because I'm getting those Mandalorian Baby Yoda, like reluctant dad in armor vibes. So how would you describe them?
Well, it's a fascinating relationship that unfolds, because at first, of course, the team is not, they're kind of their own sealed unit, and they're certainly not used to having anybody else along or working with anybody else. Although they did bring along Echo and brought Echo on board after he kind of proved himself to them, and they came together on that. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting in terms of the story and the writing to have this kind of personal relationship with a younger character, and to see how that changes and how they accommodate that, and how that works, because it's more of like an uncle niece or a father child dynamic, but not entirely, because Omega Omega is her own interesting potential of powers, maybe, and so it's interesting to see all of that unfold. But I think it connects you to the story in a personal way. So it's not just an action story, as Star Wars never is. That there's a personal story that's also playing out as well. That connects you to the entire story.
Definitely. And for Brad and Jennifer, are we right to focus on her as much as I wanted to in the first episode? Is she integral to this story?
Yes, Ash, she is definitely. She's so great, because we have this awesome team of elite clones and everything we've been talking about in this changing galaxy and this time period that, as a fan, I'm just so excited to see, because we haven't seen that much about the rise of the Empire. So to have these clinical best of the best soldiers suddenly fish out of water in this changing galaxy, and then to have this kid that they do look to help raise in a very parental way. And it's a two-way street, honestly, the way that works, that none of them are really equipped to go out into the world. And how do they, how do they eat? They don't have a mess hall to go to. How do they get their gear fixed? How do they get fuel for their ship? These are all things. Oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, we didn't have to deal with that last week. Now we got to deal with it. Are all things we get into. It's really interesting.
The Clone Force 99 is kind of another step beyond what I've been asked to do in the Clone Wars series. The clones are the tricky part for them is that the differentiation is much tighter between characters, although it has to be decisive. It has to be clear. The Bad Batch are actually much further apart from each other, which oddly makes it a little bit easier to jump from character to character to character. I mean, for me, it feels like I'm jumping from rock to rock on a stream. I can see the rock, the writing is clear, and that's what I jump to is that character. And it's like I can see them. I feel like I know them, and it actually helps that they're further differentiated in vocally and also in terms of their personality and their mood, shall we say? So it comes off looking as more of a magic trick than it does maybe with the clones. But it's still a really fascinating process as a voice actor to just have these scenes where I'm just talking to myself, just switching from character to character to character as we go through the script, which is typically how we do it. We just go straight through it. It's great. It's fantastic fun. It's really an interesting project.
It's impressive to watch him do it in the room, because when we first started, I thought he was going to go a character at a time, and just watching him like act out a scene with himself with all of these clones, but there's no pause. He just goes right into it, and I was blown away. And each time we do one of these record sessions, I'm just amazed at Dee's talent. So
thank you.
Same.
Oh,
Yeah, sometimes I accidentally say, okay, so Wrecker. Oh wait, Dee. I'm losing my brain.
It's all right. You can talk to me. I don't. It's fine. I'm here.
It's a spiritual. The Bad Batch is a spiritual successor to Clone Wars, so we wanted to honor the style and the legacy of that. That being said, the whole team at Lucasfilm and our partners at CG, we've just tightened everything up. So the fidelity is tighter, the style is tighter, the rigs are tighter. The way that it's designed is still the legacy of the Clone Wars, but a little more detail, a little bit more focus. And the work we're doing, for me, having worked on a lot of these shows with a lot of the same people internally, it's just the best team. And I think we're doing our best work ever right now. It's really fun.
Can we talk about Crosshair for a moment, just to dig in a little bit? Okay, first of all, Dee, I need your reaction to this entire reveal, but I just want to know what the conversation was about Crosshair's journey in this first episode and how big of a threat he's be for the Bad Batch through the rest of the season or the series.
Crosshair is a really interesting linchpin member of the team because his practical usefulness in the team is that of a sniper. That's someone that stands further back from the rest of the group and just takes them out one by one. And that's very much to his character. He's not someone who's running around with the team. He's assisting the team in a very strategic and laser-focused kind of way. And so his nature is kind of set to be apart with the team that he is a part of. And so that very definitely plays out as the larger kind of political story plays out of this instantaneous, mega transformation from Republic to Empire, which is a profound, as anyone who's watched Star Wars, it's a very profound moment in the entire story of Star Wars, and that's part of what's so interesting is that you have the personal dynamics of these few characters who are a lot of fun to hang out with. They're really competent, really fun, and interesting, and that this whole larger process is playing out among their dynamic as well. It's quite there's a lot there to unpack, and it's coming.